Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Stories of a Dandelion. Today I get to talk with my friend Erin, or for those of you who know her as Teresa. We talk about her 5 year plan and where she saw herself being when she was 18, and how she believed everything would work out like she planned it until an unexpected event happened that shifted her into a new direction that she is now learning how to adapt and accept. This is her dandelion story. These episodes are intended for mature audiences. Viewer and listener discretion advised. To season 2 of Stories of a Dandelion. Today I have, it's been years since I've talked to you, an old friend that I haven't talked to in forever. And you want me to call you Erin or Teresa?
Teresa.
Teresa, all right. We have Teresa here. And because we used to call you Erin in school, didn't we?
Some people did. I always go by Teresa, and then people would find out my name's Erin, so it just kind of whatever people wanted.
Oh, okay. Because I swear when I looked at it, I was like, Teresa. I was like, I'm pretty sure I called her Erin in high school,
You
but I
did.
could
You
be
were one of
wrong.
the few that actually stuck with Erin.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure. God, I feel old. Okay. Welcome to the episode. Thank you for coming
Thanks for
on.
having me.
Okay. So, first question. If you were 18 and you were graduating this year, what advice would you give yourself?
That's so many things to say. And, like we were just talking about, it was 10 years ago that I graduated. So, lots happened. But I think for me, the biggest thing is just where my life is now, is just being open to change and just being willing to adapt to whatever life throws at you. I think that when you leave high school, you have this picture in your head of what your life's going to be like. Everyone's asking you, what do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you see yourself in 10 years? And, like I had that where like, even when I graduated from college, it was like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And I was teaching, married, had a house, have a dog, like all of that. I had all of it that I thought I would have. And I wasn't happy like with my job, and now I'm not teaching anymore. And, I was devastated to make that decision, but it works out in the end. Like even leaving high school, I came to Omaha where I have no family. And, that was a big change because I've always been around family. I'm one of four. My mom's one of 10. I have 30 like cousins. So I'm used to a big family. I'm used to being around family and just being willing to jump into things that you don't know exactly what's going to happen and where it's going to take you. But, I wouldn't have the life I have now if I didn't come to Omaha by myself 10 years ago, or if I didn't leave teaching a couple years ago. And just being open to change, being open to whatever life has for you.
Okay. So tell me about your life before where you are now, like from the time you were a kid all the way up until now, and how you became who you are today.
I was born in Louisiana, but we moved around a bunch. Being a military kid, we moved about every 3 years or so. We hopped around. So when I was the first time I moved, I was I think one and a half. We moved to Guam, moved to South Carolina, moved to Hawaii, then Belgium, where we met you, and was there until I graduated, and then went to college in Omaha. So moved around a bunch. I have three older brothers who have, been there through it all. They understand obviously what I've been through, but we're all spread out now. So I went to college here in Omaha to become a teacher. Sorry, my dog's sniffing around behind me.
You're fine.
And I was a teacher for 5.5 years before I finally had to call it quits because it wasn't where I needed to be. I miss it every day, and I wish I wanted to go back, but I just know it would be good for me. And so,
Was it like mentally it wouldn't be good?
yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, it got to the point where I felt like I wasn't a teacher anymore. You know, I spent 4 years learning to become a teacher and learning how to help students and, meet them where they're at, help them grow. And that's what I signed up to do. And for the first few years of teaching, that's what it was. And I loved it. Obviously it's challenging, but I was able to do that. I could see the growth in my students and I loved it and it was rewarding. And then COVID hit. And that was a roller coaster of a year for everybody. And we were doing remote learning and we did a hybrid where students were in school for 2 or 3 days a week and then remote the other days. Then we tried to get everyone back in. So, there was a lot of change that year alone. And then the following year, which ended up being my last year teaching, it was like there were a lot of expectations from teachers for teachers before COVID, and those kind of got pushed to the side when COVID hit, and then during COVID, a whole new set of expectations were brought upon us, and then the year after, all the expectations just came together. It's like, this is what we were expected you to do this before. We expected you to do this during remote learning and the hybrid. Now I need you to do everything. And what it comes down to is that I could not do what was best for my kids, for my students, and do what's being asked of me from the district. So it's either I do what the district says and it not help my students, or it help my students and not do what the district is saying. And so it just, you know me, I'm a rule follower. I want to do what I'm supposed to do. I might not always do it. And it, it was just weighing on me. And I'm like, I felt like I wasn't doing my job. And if I felt like I wasn't doing my job, it came down to like, I wasn't there for my kids the way I needed to be. And I felt like I didn't have the support that I needed from the district, to do what was best for my students. And then, I look at, you can go to other districts, but it really isn't even, it's a countrywide problem. Teachers everywhere are struggling for the same reasons. But yeah, so it got to the point where I was like crying on my way to work, and I'm like, I'm too young to be doing this. I'm too young to be crying on my way to work and not wanting to be there. Like, this is not where I wanted to be in life. Yes, 5 years ago, I wanted to be teaching. I wanted, like, everything that I wanted, I had, and I just wasn't happy because of that. That's where you spend most of your day, if I'm going to be going to somewhere and working, I want to be happy. And thankfully, my husband was on board and he's like, whatever you need to do. And I was like, can I get paid through the summer? And so I was like, I'm going to take the summer off and just relax. And then I'll figure out what I'm going to do later. So, I was going to I'll sub in the fall and look for jobs and see how that goes. And, we were in a fine place financially that I was able to take that time to just kind of regroup. And so that's what I did. And then I actually ended up getting an interview with my current company and getting a job that way. And they had to put a lot of faith in me because I'm in construction now and no construction experience at all. Like, I'm pretty sure if anyone from high school were to hear that, they'd be like, she's doing what?
I know, it is weird.
I'm not doing the constructing, so, people can, relax on that end. But I'm in the construction industry, and it's nowhere like in any realm of possibility 10 years ago for me. Like, there's no way I would have totally lost all marbles and money if I had bet on that. Like, there's no way. But here I am, and they're like, you can handle it. Like, it's just people that I knew beforehand. They're like, you'll be fine. You'll be able to handle it. was like, okay. And so then that kind of brought on a whole new mental challenge for me of just, I felt like I had to prove myself. I felt like I can't let them down because they're giving me this chance to learn and, do something completely different. And so I put a lot of pressure on myself to learn quickly and, you know, prove that I could be there. And so I've been there for over a year now and everything's great and fine and dandy. But, there's just, it was kind of a roller coaster of a year last year because I was going through the whole leaving education, which that was devastating to me. And then finding a new job and then having that mental breakdown of I'm not going to be able to do it. I can't handle this. And my husband's like, you're fine. Cause he's also in the construction industry. He's like, you'll be fine. And so he would give me little crash courses at night leading up to my first day. He's like, this is what this is. This is what this is. This is how you find out this stuff. I'm like, okay. Yeah. It was a lot, but we're doing good.
That's good. During your transition though, from deciding that you weren't going to be a teacher anymore, how did you deal with that on a daily basis? Because I know when you go after whatever you want to do, for me it was sports, and when I decided that that wasn't the route I was going to take, it took a lot of mental time for me to accept it. So what did you go through to get to the point where you are now?
So I think during my last year teaching, I obviously didn't know that was going to be my last year teaching. And I was struggling after winter break. We came back and it was hard to get back into the groove. And, if I'm not in the groove and I can't be at work 100%, there's no way that I can be there for my students 100%, which was also part of it. If I'm not there fully, I can't be there to help my kids fully, and they need me. And so we got around to spring break. I'm like, cool. We have a week off. This will be good for me to recoup. And then we had a long, after spring break, you have a long stretch to the end of the year. And so I was like, oh, this will be fine. But then I got back from break and I wasn't ready. I just didn't want to go. And that's when the tears started. It was a 25, 30-minute drive to work. So that's 25, 30 long minutes in the car of trying to convince myself that I can get through the day and it's going to be fine and it's going to be good. Or it was 25 minutes of worrying and stressing and just I didn't always have that positive talk that I needed in the morning. I didn't do that for myself all the time. And it was really hard to do that because I'm generally a very positive person. And so when it got to that point of I can't even pretend enough for myself, that's when I was like, okay, this isn't good. And, I'm talking to my husband about it. And he was also in a similar situation of feeling unhappy in his work, just with some of the projects going on and stuff that he was doing. And so, we were considering moving and just kind of moving somewhere new, starting all over. And I think that was the push that I needed to resign because I don't think I would have done it on my own. I knew that I had his support, but it was really hard for me to put my resignation in on my own because I'm this is what I've always wanted to do. Since I was in elementary school, I always wanted to be a teacher. My mom was a teacher. My grandmas were teachers. My aunts, I have a lot of aunts and uncles who were teachers. So I've always wanted to be a teacher. And it was really hard for me to let go of that. And I mean, there was countless days of me crying, trying to figure out well, I don't want to do it, but I do need to do it, but I don't want to. It was a back and forth. I want to be there for the kids. The kids are the ones that are going to suffer. But if I'm also suffering, then they're still going to be suffering, And so we had decided that we were going to move. So I'm like, okay. And I went to work the next day and I emailed my resignation in. And then a few hours later, my husband calls me and he's like, we might stay. And I was like, okay, well, I already did my part and I'm not taking it back. And he's like, okay, well, we can talk about it later. I'm like, okay. And so we're still here. But as soon as I put that resignation in, I felt a weight lifted off my shoulders. And for the first time in months, I felt happy and I felt like I could teach because, as bad as it sounds, it was kind of like what's the district going to do? Are they going to fire me? Because I've already put in my resignation. So then that's when I really started to put my students first and I did what was best for them. Like, I can't teach them to divide when they're struggling to subtract. So I focus on subtracting. So like I really started going back to the basics with them and I felt kind of the freedom to do that because, I can't be fired because I'd already quit. Like I was already leaving. And it's such a bad mentality, which is also another reason why I left. But I felt like I could finish the school year out and do what was best for my students. And I'm glad that I was able to do that because I was able to leave education on a good note in my eyes. And I miss it every day. I go back and visit my school whenever I can. And everyone's happy to see me and like just check in and everything. But it was a struggle for sure. Cause like I'd always wanted to be a teacher. I finally was that. I had my own classroom. I felt like I was a great teacher. I was happy to a point, and then until I wasn't. And yeah, so I resigned. I didn't take my resignation back, but then it was the whole now I need to figure out what to do. Which I honestly I didn't think I touched a resume or anything for 2 months. I took school ended at the end of May. I took all of June, all of July to just relax and just get myself in a better place mentally before I started to even consider looking around. And this opportunity with my company now, just kind of fell into my lap. And I'm so grateful for that because I don't even know where I would be if that hadn't happened.
Yeah. Have you dealt with anxiety before all of this happened, or is this like a first time or once type of thing that has happened in your life?
This was probably the first time that it was a bigger thing in my life. I think when I first moved to Omaha, I had some anxiety because I was by myself. I had no family. I'd never lived in Omaha. I'd never even visited Omaha before I came here to move into my dorm freshman year. I didn't know anybody. My parents at the time were living in Maryland. So I was by myself. So that was a hard adjustment as well. But I had classes and things to keep me busy. I had a routine. And so that was a little different from now where I was quitting and I didn't have anything lined up. And having that uncertainty was stressful for me just because while my husband was fine with it, I personally was like, well, what am I supposed to be doing? I was losing that identity, I'm a teacher and I'm leaving education. What does that mean for me? And so I think it was the first time that I just had no idea, taking that leap of faith to come to Omaha was one thing, but taking a leap of faith and leaving my career that I've had for 5 years, that was really scary because I'm I need to make money. Whereas when I came here for college, I still had my parents supporting me. I had a a dorm to live in. I had like, my meal plans, like everything I needed was there. And I didn't
Yeah.
have to worry too much. I just needed to show up to classes. I just needed to pass classes. It was fine. So I think it was just like a different level of anxiety.
Hey guys, I wanted to take a quick break to ask if you are enjoying this episode. Go ahead and follow us on Stories of a Dandelion right here on Spotify or wherever you're getting your podcast, as well as follow us on all of our social media accounts. Let's create this community full of military brats who feel that they're okay with opening up about their mental health, about sharing their journey, what they're going through, and create a place for beautiful healing through stories. So, again, please go ahead and follow us on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts, as well as all of the social media accounts. Now, let's get back to today's episode. So, it sounds like it was more of like the unknown because, like, you had the support always, and you said like when you went to school it was the routine of like getting into education and what you already knew just in a different place, and then like now it
Mm-hmm.
was like you have the support of your husband, but what am I supposed to be doing, what is next? And that can be a scary place to be in for like, how old were you when, what, like
So I was,
26?
so I was
Yeah. Yeah, being a
26.
26-year-old, and as we graduate from college and stuff, we're told like we're supposed to have life figured out after that. Like, this is it, and this is what it's going to be. And as always, you were the person that had your life figured out, and now you're in this unknown place where you have no idea. You have a wonderful husband who's supporting you, but money don't grow on trees, unfortunately. So now you have to figure out what's next, and it sounds like you're in a better place, and that you're doing really well. And I want to know like what you took from teaching, because I feel like teaching in a way, if depending on what you're doing with construction, could help you with it. So has you taken anything from teaching and just brought it over to construction with you and found like a new joy in it?
I think the biggest thing is
Mm-hmm.
you're working with people. And whether I'm working with 9 and 10-year-olds or working with grown men, like everyone needs to be treated with respect. Like you all
Mm-hmm.
have a common goal that when there's disagreements, you have to like make sure that everyone's on the same page. Like we both want, like when I was teaching, like we both
Mm-hmm.
want the students to succeed. So like between the parents, between other teachers, like what can we do as a team to help the students succeed? And then switching it over to construction of
Yeah.
this building needs to get built. Like I need this information. I need you to give me this information, or like vice versa, like whatever it is, whoever I'm working with. It's the people aspect of it, of everyone needs to be treated with respect, and everyone um, needs to be able to take a step back and look at it, other people's perspectives, um, because it's it's a difficult
Mm-hmm.
skill for some people, and just because it's something you have to learn. And if you haven't really been taught that, and then you're an adult, like it's definitely like I can see how it causes issues of just
Mm-hmm.
being able to communicate and make sure everyone understands that like we have the same goal, we have to work together. And there's some people who struggle with that, and it's like they just see like you're saying I'm wrong and I'm not wrong, and it's like no, I need to understand. So I think like that's kind of the biggest thing, especially like with me. Obviously construction is a male dominated industry, and I don't know anything. So like, that kind of was intimidating going into a whole new industry, and then also being a minority in this industry. Like I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to look like an idiot, but like I need help to help me understand so that I know where you're coming from, and we can make sure that we're coming up with that best solution. So I think like that's probably the biggest thing, because there's been a lot of like mandatory trainings that I've been through where it's the same exact thing that I did as a teacher and all the trainings I had to go through as a teacher. And it comes down to like working with people and treating people with respect and understanding that you have the same common goal and working together to achieve that goal. But I think that was probably like the biggest thing that I was able to take over, because I'm able to talk to like a lot of people, and most people I work with know that I used to be a teacher. And so, which is nice, because if I need help, they know that I'm not just, trying to get out of doing something. Like they know I'm truly trying to understand it, so then I can take like lead on something that I wouldn't have been able to without their help. But other than that, I think everything else is pretty intimidating to start. Like Excel, never used that when I was teaching, or rarely. Basics. And like now I live in Excel, and just like the processes for everything. It's just a whole new world of understanding contracts and things.
You feel like you have a newfound confidence?
Now that I've been here for a year, I definitely feel like I know a lot more, and I like understand a lot more. I was just talking with someone who started the same day as me, who's much older, has a lot more experience, but just like we were walking around the site this last week, and we looked at each other and we're like, can you believe where we were a year ago? Like a year ago, there was very minimal things up for the building, and now like everything's enclosed and we're working on the interior things, and it's just like, it's crazy to look back and see like the building has progressed so much. And then for me, thinking about like a year ago, I didn't know like what way was up, honestly. Like it took some time for me to understand what was what and all of that. So I have definitely gained a lot more confidence in the last year, because just being exposed to everything. So I was in charge of the interns this summer, and it was a lot of fun. And, they were coming to me and asking questions. Like they have their supervisors, which are, they have a lot more experience than I do, but they would come to me and ask me questions about things. And it was kind of a confidence boost. It definitely was a confidence boost for me. Like, oh, I actually do understand something. And like, these interns are college students. They're in college for construction. So they do know more than me in some aspects, but just because I'm in the field, I jumped into it. So like I know like a different amount. Like they know like the school book stuff, but then I was able to like give them more of a workplace advice, I guess. So that helped. And then just like as people, we have people rotating in, rotating out. So all the newer people will ask me something, and I'm like, oh, I guess I actually do know the answer to this. I guess I can be helpful.
That's good, because like it's different from teaching, and it's kind of showing you that teaching wasn't your only path. Like, is it helping you form your next path? Because I don't know, maybe construction and doing that will be a lifelong thing, but is it helping you form like where you see yourself going next?
Yes and no. I don't plan on leaving anytime soon, but it's definitely helped me understand that I can do whatever I put my mind to. People say that all the time, but until like you really put yourself in a position where you have to learn something new and put that effort into it, it's not really real. And so I think that whatever I want to do down the road, I know that I can handle the change and that I'll be fine in the end. Um, but yeah, I don't see myself leaving anytime soon. I'm really enjoying the industry, and I'm enjoying learning something new. It's challenging enough that I'm not bored. And even though I've been there for a year, like there's still so much to learn for me, because I'm only learning like, a fraction of what construction is. And so I know that I could be here for another 5 years and still know
Yeah.
nothing, feel like I know nothing, but have learned a lot, you know? So I think I really like that aspect of just the challenge to learn new things.
Um, so yeah, the challenge of learning new things, because you growing or being at Shape, of what I've learned about you is you were very inside the box. Like you said, you followed the rules. So like now you're not following your own rules that you kind of set your goals in front of you. How does it make you feel? Like, are you looking to like continue to try to challenge yourself in new things and like kind of think outside of the box of what you're used to?
I think that with like staying
Mm-hmm.
in my job now, I'm comfortable with that. I'm I'm still hesitant to fully get out of my comfort zone. So I think that changing into this new career kind of was my limit for a little bit before I am ready to do something new and crazy. Um, but yeah, I'm glad, I'm grateful for this opportunity to be in this new construction industry, just because I mean it's a full 180 from what I was doing, and I never thought that I would enjoy it. You know, I've been with my husband for almost 8 years now. And when we met, he was going to school for construction. So, like, he would explain things to me, and I was always interested in it. But that information never really stuck because I'm like, I have no way to apply this
Mm-hmm.
to anything that I'm doing. But now that I'm in it, it's, it is, I mean, it's still so interested in it, but now I get to apply that information and apply that knowledge to my everyday work. So I think this is a good
For
challenge
now,
for
nah.
now.
So we're staying still kind of inside the
For
box.
now, yeah, yeah, like I'll leave my box in a little bit, but for now I'm good. I've left too
One
much.
foot was too much out. Bring her back.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
understand.
yeah.
I get it. So like, has this helped you grow in like your relationship with your husband? Because now you're working in the same areas. So like, has it found like a new growth with you two?
Yeah, I think so because I mean I used to talk to him about work all the time, um, but it was kind of the same thing of where like he would explain construction to me, and it just kind of
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, that's interesting, and then never deal with the information again. You know, I would tell him about my day to day life at school and the crazy things that would happen that my students would say and do, and but now that we're in the same industry and like I'm doing what he did when he graduated, so he knows exactly what I'm doing, and it's just nice because now if I have a question, I can send him a message in the middle of the day and like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand this, and he can send me a quick message, or if it's something that involves a little more like information, then like at night when we're eating dinner we'll talk about whatever it might be. um so it's nice just because like this is what he's always wanted to do, and now I can understand it a lot more, and so I think in that aspect like it definitely has helped our relationship because um I understand him more, and seeing like knowing what I do and seeing like how my project is run, like I have so much more respect for him and what he does. I obviously had a respect for him before, but like actually understanding how much he has to do and what he
Mm-hmm.
has to deal um, with me as a, I call myself a baby engineer. Me and my baby engineer role, I'm like, I
Mm-hmm.
can't even imagine doing some of the things that he has to deal with. I'm like, I don't even know how you figure that out. Like
Yeah.
I'm still here, and he's like way through the roof. I'm like, okay, I'll get there
Yeah.
eventually.
So so you have like a
Yeah,
sounds like you guys are able to support each other in a better way, now that you're both in the same industry, and that's great. First of all, having somebody to go through life with is it's something that we all want. It's not something that we all can find so easily. It's a very hard thing. So how did you guys find each other? Because you've said throughout this whole thing where, you know, you've had your parents' support, your brother's support, and now your husband. So how did you two come about and have this 8 long year relationship so far?
So I went to
Mm.
Creighton here in Omaha. He went to Iowa State. And so it was our junior year of college. And I was not in a good place mentally then either. But I think, like, with my routine and everything of classes, and I was in a sorority and I had a position in there. So, like, I was busy all the time. So I just kind of wasn't dealing with any
Avoidance,
problems,
yeah.
just kind of sweep it under the rug. It's very healthy. Um, I wasn't in a great place mentally, but I had a friend who we had planned for a while to, like, just hang out and have like a wine night. And she was going to come over and we were going to watch like Disney movies or something, do a throwback night. And she called me up and she was like, "Hey, I have some high school friends visiting. Do you mind if we go hang out with them for a little bit?" I was like, "Okay, I don't care. I'm up for whatever." And so we went to hang out with some of her friends. And we ended up at a house party, and there was like 12 people, I think, there. And Dakota and I were the only ones that didn't go to this high school. And so I looked at him and like, "We're going to be buddies tonight." And he's like, "Okay." And it was honestly pretty instant. Like, we were hanging out with everybody, but like there was just like an automatic level of comfort that was just weird to feel with a stranger. Like, I jokingly was like, "We're going to be buddies tonight. Like, everyone knows everybody else here. We don't know, like, you don't know anyone. I don't know anyone. Like, we're going to be buds." And it was just very comfortable from the very beginning. And that was the week before Thanksgiving. And so then he actually, because he was just visiting for the weekend. And so he left, but we had given each other our numbers and we were texting like for the whole next week. And he came back the next week, like right after Thanksgiving. He came back to visit so that, we could go on a date and all that. And, the rest is history, honestly. Like, he came back that weekend, we hung out, and for the next, I don't know, 8 months or so, we only saw each other once a month. And like, that was hard because like he was in Iowa, I was in Nebraska, and it's kind of hard to have a relationship when you see each other once a month. So we did distance for 2 years before he moved to Omaha, and so he's been here for 6 years now. But yeah,
Wow.
it just kind of fell in place. But like, being with him and having that level of comfort from the instant, like from that night that we met, it really helped me kind of get out of that dark place that I was in. And I was struggling with like self-worth then a little bit, just because of some other things going on in life, and talking with him and just being with him when we could be together, like, it just changed my whole like mentality. And so, like, we could only see each other once a month, but it was worth waiting to see each other, and it just, we got lucky. We got really lucky in that aspect, because we didn't really go through the whole dating phase. He was my first like long-term boyfriend. So, and my only
Obviously, the married guy, so that's awesome. Like, and to help for him to help you get through a dark time. You I guess you knew beforehand, like through it, whatever thick or thin, he was going to be there to support you. So that's amazing, really amazing. So, what is the future for you guys? Like, where do you guys see you guys self in 5 years, or for the next 5 years, or in 5 years, whichever?
I just told you, like, 5 years
Yeah.
ago, I thought I knew what I wanted, and it completely changed. And so, I'm going to say something now, it's going to be completely wrong. But we didn't plan on staying in Omaha. He came here because I graduated a year before him because I graduated early and then he ended up graduating late, and I already had my job, I was in my first year of teaching when he graduated. So he was able to get a job here in Omaha, and the plan was to stay here for 5 years because I was able to get loans paid off by teaching with loan forgiveness. So I was like, 5 years and we can move somewhere. Of course, we hit that 5 year mark and I resigned. So I'm like, I don't want to move anywhere because I got this new job, and I'm like, I can't just move offices because I don't have enough, in my mind at least, I don't have enough experience under my belt. Like, I want to have more experience before I move somewhere else. Because, like, here, everyone knows me. They know that I'm willing to learn and do what I need to do a good job. So I worry about going to another office and having to prove myself again. Not that I know that I can't do it, because I know I will be fine. But there's that comfort of knowing that I have support here and that I could literally go ask anyone for help in the office, and they're like, "Yep, what do you need?" And they'll take that time to help me. But I know that he's like interested in going other places, and so I don't. I see, like, I can see it both ways of us staying in Omaha, but I also can see us moving. And he's like, "Well, are you fine with moving?" And I'm like, "I don't think you understand. I grew up like military kid. I was ready to move 3 years after being in Omaha. I've been here for 10 years now. So yeah, I'm ready to go. But I'm also fine staying. Like, I mean, it's become my home. And so I can kind of see it going both ways, where we stay here, or I know, like, we have some friends who, like, one of them will stay in Omaha and one will go do a project somewhere else and then come back on the weekends. So, like, we don't have any kids, so that is a possibility for us right now, where we could be separated for a little bit and make that work. So I don't know. I think in 5 years' time, I'll probably still be doing this. I will maybe be at the same level he's at now. So, maybe I can follow in his footsteps within the construction industry, and I don't know, maybe we'll have another dog, have another house.
Trying to get into the what is it, the rental properties type of stuff?
Yeah, well, we're in our, like, we were considering our starter home because we weren't planning on staying here, and then with everything, like, we are still here, but buying houses is just very expensive right now. So there's nothing wrong with our house. So we're going to stay here for a little bit, but we don't want to stay in this house forever. So in 5 years' time, would like to be in a new house.
Completely. That's good. So it sounds like you're staying within your box, but possibly popping out again.
I'll probably take a step out of the box in a little bit. I don't know what it'll be. It might just be for something crazy like going skydiving, but
Look, you did construction, and you're doing construction, and I'm like, really? Not in the way? And like, I mean, if you go skydiving, I'm ready. Like, I'm just ready for whatever's next, because I was ready to come on this podcast episode and like hear about like your teaching and like all the stuff you were doing and like everything you had planned in high school, like doing it. And it's just good to see that you're doing well even after the shift. So I'm really happy for you, man. Well, thank you for coming on the podcast. It was amazing. Of
thanks
course.
for having me.
Hey guys, thank you for tuning in for another episode on the Stories of the Dandelion podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please go and share it with a friend, a colleague, or even a family member. And make sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms so you can stay up to date on when the episodes are coming out and what is involved in each episode. Thank you again for tuning in, and I will see you all next Military Brat Monday.